给我看看。 Dave?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to round 3 of the oNiD Racing GT Team World Cup. We are in France at the Paul Ricard circuit. My name is Cammy Sturch, and on the cameras and highlights and replays is Mr. Dan Hyde of KDAN Broadcasting.
Hello.
Hello, Dan. How's your week been?
Fairly busy so far. Hopefully it will quieten down a little bit soon.
I just had to quieten down my computer speakers as the broadcast started coming out my PC speakers and was going to start doubling up through my microphone and everything. Quickly rectified that. So the drivers should be starting qualifying in any moment now. We will go live as soon as they start, but I think we can talk you around this race circuit that was it's pretty new. It was renovated in the last sort of 5-6 years, wasn't it, with all these runoff areas. Not everybody's a fan of them. It doesn't really punish mistakes, of course. It lets you get away with it. Clockwise circuit, down through the chicane, up towards the top at Virage du Camp. Then downhill, down the long straight. They miss the chicane that the Formula 1 cars take. Down towards the Courbet des Ignes. The long right-hander at Busseau. And then it is the chicane complex through Bendor and Virage de la Tour before the sharp right-hander at Virage du Pont. And back round to complete a lap with the pit entry on the right just after the final corner. It is a tricky pit entrance rather than feeding in off a corner. It's you can see right there, it's just a sort of almost a bad motorway turn off that suddenly juts out to the right, so it can catch drivers out. And we are in for another treat of night racing. 1 minute gone in qualifying, so drivers are just out on their outlaps at the moment. And that will give me time to bring you all up to speed with the previous results. So the championship standings as they stand after 2 rounds is Pulse SimSport leading the way. 2 wins from 2 rounds means they're on 50 points at the top of the table. Second place, it is oNiD Go for the Gap Racing. 2 second places sees them with 36 points, and the Dutch endurance team White have had 2 third places, which sees them in third, unsurprisingly, with 30 points. In fourth, it is oNiD Racing on 18 points, and fifth, it is the Dutch endurance team Blue on 13 points. Dutch endurance team Red are on 12 points, with the Pulse SimSport amateur team on 10. Then in 8th place, it is Wagyu Racing, tied with the Double Sevens. And in 9th place, another tie at the moment, it is the oNiD Simhound Rookies with FDSR. And then in 10th place, it is SR Racing with 4 points from 2 rounds. As we follow Paul Prescott for Monster Energy at the moment in the wonderful Aston Martin Vantage V8. I don't think there are any V12s out there in this championship. We know Alex Shahabi likes it, but given this is a team event, drivers can't just pick their favourite. It is all about compromise, working with your teammate, and so they can't just run the setup that they love. They have to work together, find that compromise that works for the both of them, because in the mandatory pit window, the drivers do swap over. And it isn't a pro-am situation. It could be 2 amateurs, 2 pros, or a pro and am within the team. The teams themselves get classified. As you see on the left, we have the whites and the reds. So we have pro teams and, well, we have GT3 teams, I should say. That's more accurate. We have GT3 teams, as we can see the Tango with Dave Wood. And then the red tabs are the GT4 teams, of which I'll take you through the championship standings now. So leading the way in the GT4 class is oNiD Racing on 40 points. Second, it is Delta Online Racing with 33 points. And in third place, it is BVR with 24 points. In fourth, it is FTC Racing. In fifth, it is Gachimuchi. In sixth, it is the oNiD Racing Stronger team. And in 7th place, tied, it is Blurred Vision Junior and Royal Sim Sports. In 8th, it is QRT Esports 2. In 9th, it is Guaranteed to Choke Motorsport. And in 10th, it is SKCZ Racing. And a little bit of mild confusion from me there, as Reinar's Cam Sport has actually left the championship, Dan. So that caught me out. I've not seen people, usually I'm used to seeing teams or drivers be disqualified, but they've actively left the championship, which is a shame. But the cars now, the drivers starting to get the hot laps in at this Paul Ricard circuit, and at the moment it is the Dutch Endurance team sitting on top with 155.4, but Alex Kingston with a 154.8 for Team Asylum has snatched provisional pole. But of course, we've not seen a lap yet from Pulse Sim Sport or oNiD Go for the Gap Racing. Jeroen Jongen for the Dutch Endurance team White down in 9th place at the moment. They've just put in obviously it's not their best lap. They're almost 8 seconds off the pace, and they've got plenty of time to get another lap in. So there's no pressure at the moment. It's not a shootout style event. They've got a good half an hour to slowly work at it, get a good lap in. I don't think the track's going to evolve any further. The track is optimum. It is 23 Celsius, so pretty good conditions for the tyres. They can run really at their best. And here is Jonathan Seville for, I will say the team is Pulse Sim Sport, but of course Jonathan Seville recently has upped and left Pulse Sim Sport, so it's sort of a Pulse plus one who flatlined. But for the sake of ease, until this championship is over, this is still Team Pulse Sim Sport. And he went wide earlier. I don't know if that invalidated his lap. But so far in this championship, Pulse Sim Sport looking rather untouchable. The closest team to Pulse is, of course, Go for the Gap Racing. They'll be looking to get their first win of the season. And both drivers, Brendan Rooney and Aidan Carter, yet to be the first to see the checkered flag in the oNiD GT3 Cups on Sunday as well. Or Rooney, that is, I should say. As Jonathan Seville does indeed take that provisional pole. 153.4, more than a second ahead of Asylum Racing. So that is the benchmark to beat at the moment. Jongen has gone faster. Now Dutch Endurance team are up into 4th place. No doubt Jongen will improve on that. That's just, I think he's only had 2 flying laps. And here is Dutch Endurance team in the Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2 GT3. Of course, it is the new Lamborghini that was released with the new Ferrari 296 and the Porsche 992. And say Ferrari's dominating the top of the pack at the moment. Ian Hall in the Porsche, and of course Aidan Carter and Brendan Rooney run in the Porsche. Not seeing them. Are they further down, Dan? Have they not set a time yet, or do we not have them with us this evening? Oh, there they are. There is Brendan Rooney out on track, number 911, yet to put a time in, and along with Thimech, not yet put a time in. So it's a half an hour session. They will get 15 minutes, and then the GT4s will come out, and they will have 15 minutes to set a time. 8 minutes gone, 7 minutes left of the GT3 session. Down this endless straight, where the new Porsche, it can stretch its legs a little bit. It's not as handicapped as the previous model, the 991, so... But I think this is going to be where the Lamborghini Huracan is going to show strong. It does have the legs as Brendan runs a little bit wide. He keeps it in bounds, so it won't have invalidated the lap at all. The long right-hander now, the double right at Basso, before the left-hander at Virage de Bendor. Then you've got this left, right, left complex before coming up to the final corner at Virage du Pont. We'll go for the gap now. The last of the GT3 teams to set a hot lap.
Well, apart from the 777 of Simon Harris.
Apart from Simon Harris, yeah, the number, yeah, that's strange. He's they've just classified as 17th rather than underneath. It must be the numbers ordering. As Rooney puts go for the gap on the third row of the grid with just over 5 minutes to go of the GT3 session. And there is the 777 of Wagyu Racing in the Porsche 992. They are 8th place in the championship at the moment. And I think we take a moment to admire this stunning livery. It's based on the GT, I think the GT1 Porsche from Le Mans in 1998, is it, Dan?
I think that sounds correct.
It sounds, it could have been used in 97 as well, but I think it's the 98 GT1 Porsche 911 livery. And this was put together by none other than Ben Brown, B22R. There's a recent commission job for him, and he's knocked it out the park as usual. Talking of knocking it out the park, Dutch endurance team, Sander Jacobs goes second fastest. That is on the first row of the grid alongside Pulse Simsport. And we've got several Dutch endurance teams with us, of course, and that's the blue team. The Dutch are out in force here at Paul Ricard. 6 drivers running. 2 in the white team, 2 in the blue team, 2 in the red team. As Yimik Themech comes across the line in the Pulse amateur team and goes 9th fastest, 2 seconds back from their big brother team. Sort of Red Bull Alpha Tauri situation going on there. Tauri Lowen, Area 51, and you can see why they called that. The black livery with the sort of lime green, even with the lime green LEDs up the windscreen. And of course, they're number 51 as well. They're at the back of the GT3 pack at the moment, looking to make some improvements. They're over 3 seconds back. But of course, there are gains, it can all change. They might not be hot lappers, but if they can keep it consistent, they will find themselves moving up the field. And then it is Reynolds. They've not really been able to put in a solid lap. 6 seconds back. They've obviously maybe invalidated a lap here and there and only had the one, maybe that first lap where the tyres weren't quite up to pressure. But Area 51 in the McLaren 720S GT3. I mean, if you were an alien-themed team, what car would you run? Which car looks the most alien to you? Good evening, Harry of QRT and oNiD Racing. Lots of smiles. Helga van der Veen. Hello there. Come on, number 27. I know you boys got it. 27. I'm scouring the ladder now to see who is running. Number 27. Is it a GT4 team? It might be. Oh, it's Gregory. It's Gregory. In the Chevrolet Camaro. People often ask me what Cami is short for. It's short for Camaro.
I didn't know that. What a fascinating story.
What a fun fact.
Full of fun facts, aren't you, Cami?
That's it. As Toby Lewin comes across the line, not able to improve, just under a 10th off their best. But they have got a couple more minutes to improve. Time is ticking away for them. As Alex Kingston of Team Asylum, they are on the second row of the grid, really outdoing themselves at the moment. Now I'm trying to work out if Team Asylum have had a name change, because I can't find Team Asylum in the GT3 standing, so I'm having to go for each team and see which team has Alex Kingston, and so they were double sevens. Team Asylum was double sevens, that makes sense. The double sevens are currently 8th in the championship, tied with Wagyu Racing, and that's Wagyu Racing just in front of them. And Wagyu, I think it's that very expensive Japanese beef, which would make me think they'd go for a sort of Japanese-inspired livery, but no, they had Ben Brown put together the GT1 Porsche livery as we watch the Menga of Ricard's Motorsport. And this is another team who've changed their name. So now I'm looking for Tamenga and see what they were called before. So they were going by... It's a similar name. They were going by RM, powered by oNiD Dutch, but now they've shortened that to Ricard's Motorsports. Trouble is, if they update it during the championship, it doesn't change in SimRacing.GP. So I might have to ask that drivers refrain from changing their team names. It's going to make commentators' jobs a little bit trickier.
I think it depends on which driver joins the server first.
Oh no!
And what team name they have set on the livery on their computer.
Oh, that sounds like an ACC issue rather than a player issue. As Jonathan Seville goes faster still, 153.2 over a second ahead of Jongen, and second place in the championship go for the gap. They are down in 6 at the moment. The Porsche just really lingering down there, not able to make an impression on the Ferraris or the Lamborghini either. And we've got the McLaren 720S in 7th place, the 666 there. And here is Rooney, no doubt pushing as hard as he can, but just given the long straightaways of Paul Ricard, this was always going to be a circuit that the Porsche was going to be weak at. Even though it is faster than its predecessor, it must still lack the legs of the Ferrari and the Lamborghini. Does sound great though, doesn't it, Dan?
It certainly does. You can't beat a naturally aspirated engine.
No, flat Porsche. 6, isn't it?
Yeah, Lamborghini sounds good as well.
It does, and therefore the Audi R8 sounds good as well. As Brendan really went very wide there. Do you think that was an invalidated lap? I mean, he's still going.
You can run quite wide there.
GT4s are coming out on track now. Rooney's going to be the last of the GT3s to cross the line, so he's not pulled over.
And Seville is just behind.
Oh, we've got Seville still out on track. He's not giving up. He's not... It's a pattern with him. He knows that anybody could still take that pole position away from him, so he's going to try and go even faster, even though he is over a second ahead of the Dutch endurance team White. As Rooney comes across the line, is he going to improve on 6th place for Go For The Gap Racing? He can. He goes 5th fastest, so he's at the front end of the 3rd row of the grid, pulling minor miracles there in the Porsche. But we turn our attentions now to the GT4s as we follow Trinket de Tass for oNiD Racing Stronger in Dan's favourite car. Dan, tell us a little bit about the Ginetta and the engine underneath that hood.
So this Ginetta, which is the old Ginetta, has a 3.7 litre Ford-sourced V6 engine, which produces as much power as a pencil sharpener. But it is a great car to drive. It's fun in the corners, just incredibly slow in a straight line.
It's a very popular car in the UK. There's a Ginetta series where they run exclusively GT4 Ginettas.
Where they crash a lot.
They do. I saw a Team Hard Ginetta hit the barriers very hard in British GT last year, I think, because it was the only Ginetta. There was a couple Ginettas in the field, but I was told it was the only car out there without traction control.
I think and the GT Cup.
Sorry, it was the GT Cup. Yeah, that's right. The GT Cup, and it was the only Ginetta out there, the only car out there, sorry, without traction control. It was raining hard. They came out of Druids at Brands Hatch, and they lost control and hit the barrier. And then it was a case of another safety car. Trinket de Tass coming around to finish his lap as we jump to Scott Ticehurst of QRT Esports in the Mercedes AMG GT4. A car that's, it's got a big heavy, the engine's at the front. It's got a long bonnet. It is a little bit understeered for my liking. I competed in a series which was exclusively AMG GT4s, and I found it a bit of a misery to lug around a circuit because it just felt like it didn't want to turn. But I suppose if you're going to bring it to any circuit, Paul Ricard, where it's mostly long straights, you won't suffer that problem so much. You can just let that V8 just do the work for you down the straights and just make the most of that and not have to worry about the understeer, as Richards in the Camaro gets the first time on the board and takes that provisional pole. Folenko is second for the moment. Here is Anthony Richards of Delta Online Racing, second in the championship at the moment on 33 points. And here is Patty Jelinek in the McLaren 570. Leading the way, taking that away from Richards, away from Delta Online. And SKCZ Racing, I'm going all American, 11th in the championship at the moment. 10th if we're not including Reinars and Cam Sport, to be honest, but you can see the distinctive tail lights of a couple of Ginettas out there. And Dan, how are the Ginettas going to handle Paul Ricard with its long straightaways?
They're going to be bouncing off the limiter, pretty much.
There's a car that likes the corners, but compared to the other cars, doesn't quite have the top end speed, does it?
No, it really doesn't. It tops out around 170 something miles an hour,
which sounds really fast, but it's more how quickly they get to that speed, isn't it? Because the GT3s will get to that speed much quicker.
Yeah, and I think most of the other GT4 cars can do 180 plus.
I've been in a Porsche Cayman GT4, and I think when in ACC and in sim racing, it can feel like a little bit of this car feels slow and I'm having to hustle it around corners and I'm just watching GT3s go past. But when I was actually in a GT4 car, it just felt amazingly fast. Like, it just gripped the road like nothing else, and that was just a sort of a passenger ride lap, and they pushed a little bit hard because they know it's me and I'm not gonna, like the passenger before me, I'm not gonna be sick in the car. As Anthony Richards, Delta Online Racing, retakes that provisional pole position away from Jelinek. Jelinek for SKCZ Racing. I'm gonna hazard a guess. The reasoning for that name is because Patty Jelinek is from Czech Republic and Marek Chaitel is from Slovakia. So sort of abbreviated SKCZ. But I don't know what QRT means in QRT Motors, or QRT Esports rather, so if anybody knows in the chat, do let us know actually. Mercy Caller saying
I might know.
You might know. Ooh, go on.
Quantum Racing Team.
Ooh.
I think it's that anyway.
Now, I wonder if there's a reasoning behind that, or if they just picked the word quantum because it sounds quite cool and futuristic.
Oh. Taking one of the markers.
It's only a matter of time before people do that. Yeah, Harry's in the chat just saying, Quantum Racing Team. Harry, how did you come up with the name Quantum? Was it just because you've heard about quantum computing and quantum computers are going to be quicker, therefore you want to reflect quickness?
I'll put my money on that it was inspired by James Bond.
Quantum of Solace. Oh,
yes.
Maybe. Mercy Caller is saying they top out before the bridge. So they're already bouncing off the limiter then. As Scott Ticehurst pulls over, Mercy Caller, in the Ginetta, we top out at 148 miles per hour. And Harry can't remember why the team's called what it is. I mean, Go For The Gap is just called Go For The Gap because I needed a name for selling my artwork that was motorsporty, but nobody else was using. And, you know, there was names like, you know, Apex and Purple Sector and Racing Line and things like that. And I was like, oh, I need a little name that nobody's taken. And nobody had taken Go for the Gap, so I yoinked it. Luke Sherlock trying to make the most of the slipstream there of Tyser, or of Richards coming out the pits. Ilka, so it was a quantum leap to get the name. Oh dear. And here comes
What
Blurred
a
Vision.
TV program.
I never watched it. I never watched Quantum Leap.
Very strange.
I don't watch a lot of television. There's Matt Kraus. Bottom of the pack at the moment, but no missing that car. The bright patterning on it, number 44. But possibly the best livery out there, with the classic F1 Alpine livery on that Alpine esports car. Dan, is that a livery that's just included in ACC, or have they made that themselves?
No, so this was added for the Alpine Esports Series, which is why the team name shows as Alpine Esports Series. So Matt Royal jumps up to 25th position. Now, I believe, I'd say I believe, you know who made this livery for ACC.
Would it be Mr. Ben Brown?
It would.
Ooh, so Ben, this is another one of Ben's official commissions for Assetto Corsa Competizione.
Yes, it is.
I say he's a lucky boy, but it is well deserved. He does a lot of great work. As we jump to SKCZ Racing with Petter Jelinek, number 151, sitting in 4th place at the moment, just over a second off Ticehurst's time. Simming Psycho, Ben made them all. Ben works minor miracles with Photoshop and Assetto Corsa Competizione. We had someone on Twitter, didn't we, Dan, asking like, oh, who can do oh no, I'm thinking of something else, but I've had people say, oh, like custom liveries for F1 cars and iRacing, and I'm like, well, the only person I know is Ben, so go ask Ben.
Yep. I wouldn't get anyone else.
Not even me. No.
Well, I would ask you.
No, I'll let Ben handle the yeah, he can smash them out much quicker than me as well. He's like great value. He knows what people want, and he can just do patterns that would take me such a long time to do, and then I'll be like, well, I've got to charge more because I'm taking longer. And Ben's just like, yeah, I can do that really quickly. Look, and he just gets stuff out that people like. It's recognizable. It's iconic. So Ben's starting to corner that market, and he needs to get his face out there to more like motorsport events, like, you know, Motorsport Days Live and Autosport, and just try and meet the esports people and pick up more gigs that way. As we watch QRT Esports Scott Ticehurst, they are still top of the timing sheets, but still putting in the laps. They're not taking it for granted, although they are 7/10 up on the number 45 McLaren. That's not, you know, it's a big gap. It's not a Pulse SimSport big gap, but it is a big gap still to 2nd place, and they are in control at the moment. They, you know, Field in the McLaren needs to find a lot of time. So he comes out the final corner. Is this going to be an improvement? There's just over 2 minutes left on the board, and that is not an improvement for QRT, but staying out on track, gonna go again. Clear open track in front of them, not going to be impeded by anyone. Although there was a bit of a gaggle behind them. Here's Blurred Vision. And they are getting to pit lane practicing as well. It's tempting for drivers to just, you know, stop, hit escape, return to garage. But it's good to see drivers just getting that pit lane practicing, and it does look more realistic as well. Here comes the Alpine. Down to the end of the straight. Through the left-hander. Sorry, the right-hander. Get that right, Cammy. Left and right. And it looks so calm and serene and easy, but in the car, they're absolutely pushing on the limit, fighting, on the edge of grip. I think these exterior shots don't do justice just how much hard work the drivers are putting in to push as hard as they can. Royal at the moment down in 26th place, but it is quite close among the GT4s. Except between first and second. Now Alpine Esports, that's another team that doesn't come up on the championship standings. So I've got to look up. So Matt, this is Royal Sim Sports. And Ticehurst still out on track. Coming up to the final corner now, the right-hander. Are they going to be able to improve? Their nearest competitors are in the pit, so can't improve. Yellowneck is his closest rival that could challenge. As they come across the line, it is not an improvement. Maybe the tyres just getting away from them. It's cooled down a little bit from 24 to 22 degrees. I don't know if that's made a difference. As we watch Stephen Bain in the oNiD Racing Ginetta, 5th place overall. 5th place in GT4s at the moment. Coming up to the end of his lap, is he going to be able to put it on the front row of the GT4 class? And oNiD Racing, of course, leading the GT4 championship with Stephen Bain and teammate and oNiD founder Johnny Ashley at the helm.
Oh, and Bain is invalidated on the final corner.
Oh, was he up?
Yeah, he was about 3/10 up, so not quite enough to make up a position.
No, painful nonetheless. But I think that put him in good stead for the race. They know they've got the pace, so they know they'll be able to make some places up as we jump to the Royal Esports team, which is masquerading as Alpine Esports at the moment. Coming up to the penultimate corner, the left-hander at Virage de la Tour before the right-hander at Dupont.
Could make a big jump with this lap time.
A little bit wide of the apex there, but let's see what he can do. 26 at the moment. Over 2 seconds back from Ticehurst. And jumps up to 23rd. Do we have many cars out on track? Here is guaranteed to choke. 10th in the championship at the moment. Running. Oh, and they've come to a stop. They must have invalidated their lap down there. So the session has ended. Pulse Simsport on pole for the 3rd race in succession, with the Dutch endurance team behind them and Jacobs in the Ferrari. I think that is the Ferrari of another Dutch endurance team. It is just behind them. And then it is... Well, damn, we should probably do a proper go through the grid, shouldn't we? Here we go. So, Jonathan Seville for Pulse Simsport on pole, number 97. Alongside Jeroen Jongen for the Dutch endurance team, white. And then it is Jacobs for the Dutch endurance team, blue. Alongside Kingston of Team Asylum, or Double Sevens. In 5th place, it is Brendan Rooney starting for oNiD Go for the Gap Racing. And then in 6th place, it is Rob Simanska of Reinars Motorsports. In 7th place, it is Andy... We've had a driver change there. So oNiD Racing, it's always a mismatch where it says Hearn up there and Thorpe down there. Always useful. And in 8th place, it is the Pulse sister team with Thimech at the helm. In 9th place, it is QRT Esports, which is Harry going to start the race. And Spencer Guthrie for High Cthulhu. That's another team name that's changed between rounds. In 11th place, it is Simhound Rookies with General Scrub. And in 12th place, it is Monster Energy with Paul Prescott. 13th place, it is Wood for the Tango. Again, that's a new team that's not appearing. And then in 14th, it is Lowen. And then 15th, it is Aldsley. And in 16th place, it is Harris Full Wagyu Racing, which is a team that appears in the championship standings. QRT Esports on pole in the GT4 class, 17th overall, alongside Blur Vision, with Richard Page starting in the number 45 McLaren. Then in the Chevrolet Camaro, Delta Online Racing, Anthony Richards starts 3rd. And then in 4th place it is SKCZ Racing with Petty Yanalek starting the race in the McLaren. Stephen Bain for oNiD Racing is 21st in the Ginetta, with Nathan Berry in the Mercedes AMG with Guaranteed to Choke Motorsport. Matt Royale for Royale Esports is 23rd, with Trinket to Tass for oNiD Racing Stronger is 24th. Felenko in the AMG for Gachi Machi is 25th. And in 26th it is Luke Sherlock for V8 Racing. Blur Vision Jr. Max Kraus is in 27th. And then last but not least is Waka in Waka Racing in the Alpine in 28th. As the pre-race timer ticks down to 0 and the drivers will make their way onto the formation lap. And Stephen Bain saying, Johnny has just fired me. He said he was 7 tenths up rather than 3 tenths up, Dan. So he might have actually jumped up quite a few places there. Collective World says, good evening, first time watching oNiD on YouTube.
I'm sure I said 7 tenths, but he was over 7 tenths behind the next driver.
Oh, was he? My mistake then. As we can hear the cars making their way, that camera was pointing the wrong way. As we follow Jan Wacker at the tail end of the field. And of course you're seeing these tabs come up. Don't fret, the drivers have not picked up penalties for wrongdoing. These are success penalties. So for winning the last round, Pulse Sim Sport pick up a 15-second penalty for their pit stop. Jongen for Dutch Endurance Team White, they will have a 5-second penalty in their pit stop. And Go for the Gap Racing for finishing 2nd in the last round will have 10 seconds added to their pit stop. And the same applies in GT4s, of course. Richards in the Camaro will have to hold for 15 seconds whilst changing drivers. Page will have to hold for 10 seconds before changing drivers. And Bain for oNiD Racing, there will be 5 seconds added to their pit stop. And it's just, we can't add weight to the cars. So this is one of those sort of success penalties that we apply. I think they do something similar in British touring cars, Dan.
No, it's British GT.
British GT do it? I thought BTCC did as well, but
no, they do hybrid.
Bad. Oh yes, so they get amount.
They adjust the amount of hybrid per race. So yeah,
based on results.
Yeah, British GT is success pit stop penalty. So if you finish 1st in a race, you'll get 15 seconds. You finish 2nd, you get 10 seconds. You finish 3rd, you get 5 seconds, and they're added on to the pit stop at the next race, which can get confusing in British GT when some of the results get called into question. So I can't remember which round it was this year, but one of the rounds they didn't do the success pit stop penalties because the previous round result was still in question. So then once that was sorted, they then just added the time on at the end of the race to then get the correct finishing positions for that race.
That seems an iffy way to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems a bit strange if you can't finalise a result of one round before you get to the next round.
Yeah. As the drivers now make their way through the double right at Busett, it is Pulse, Dutch Endurance team just behind. Then another Dutch Endurance team behind. Not much tyre weaving going on. It's gotten a little bit warm up. 23 degrees now. Alan Racing says go Pulse. They don't need any more encouragement. All the other teams are just trying to work out how to stop them on this winning streak. Because not only have Pulse won each round in the GT Teams Championship, they've also, I think, just run away with it in the Sunday GT3 Championship. I think some drivers, after the departure of Jonathan Seville, might be trying to take his seat at Pulse Sim Sport in a if you can't beat them, join them kind of move. As you see Jongen there, really aggressively getting alongside and will really be trying to take that first place at the first corner in order to stop Seville running away with it. As they round Virage DuPont now, they can see down the start-finish straight, and they'll see the red lights, and they'll just wait for the green lights to come on as the GT4s round the final corner now. There are the 5 red lights. We're just waiting for those to go out. Rolling start, 70 kilometers per hour. And we're away. Green flag is out. Green lights are on. They power down towards the S de la Verrier. And Pulse Simsport look like they're going to try and hold the inside line. And the Dutch teams, the 2 Dutch endurance teams almost coming together as Jacobs was trying to find a place amongst the gaggle. Just got a blinding set of headlights coming towards us. It's going to be tricky to pick out the cars. As Seville from Jongen, Jacobs, as we get a replay of the start, we're watching from Jacobs. Are we going to see from his point of view? We're certainly following his car at the moment. That's Brendan Rooney just behind. And then the double sevens of the Ferrari 296 alongside them. So Jongen cuts across aggressively to try and take that inside line. As we jump back to the live action, Jonathan Seville leading the way. Already starting to build a gap. Down the long straight, the Mistral straight. And we jump Stephen Bain running in 20th at the moment. Reynolds has had a bad start and is in the Audi R8 there, trying to get back past GT4s. And Stephen Bain running in 7th place in class at the moment. And some drivers try to take it easy in these opening laps. Some really go on the attack because it's easiest to attack when all the cars are bunched together, as Stephen Bain gets past Kraus in the Camaro. Now he's heading after Richards in the second of the Camaros. oNiD Racing, of course, will have 5 seconds added to their pit stop as we ride on board with the Ginetta GT4 with oNiD Racing with that Ford engine up front as he's trying to sneak out the inside, and there is contact, and he's actually spun the Camaro round.
I think he hit a McLaren.
You're absolutely right, he hit the McLaren. The Camaro got a little bit skew-iff, but yeah, the McLaren was sent round. And that's Janonek humbling down the order, and now that was a bit naughty. Are the stewards going to be absolutely impartial? Because of course oNiD Racing, who run this series, caused the incident. And at the moment a GT4 has the fastest lap of the race. Somehow Kraus in the Camaro GT4 has the fastest lap of all competitors, Dan.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that is.
Is that ACC just having a brain fart moment? Or...
Yes, it is. It's because
undoubtedly
Kraus qualified obviously in the second group, which means it's saying his best lap time is 14 minutes 43, whereas most of the GT3 cars are in the 20-something minute lap time.
Oh, the crazy way ACC works. As the Dutch endurance teams fighting amongst themselves now. It's Jongen defending from Jacobs. So Jongen is in the Dutch endurance team white, who are 3rd in the championship, and Jacobs in the Dutch endurance team blue, who are 5th in the championship. And oNiD Racing running a controversial tobacco sponsorship there, obviously inspired by the 1998 Mercedes McLaren. As Seville sets things right, as they should be, with 153.6 and takes that fastest lap back from Kraus. See the gap growing in front of that Porsche 992. I don't think Rooney or Carter are going to be able to do anything about the Porsche's just lack of top-line speed. They are the top-running Porsche. The 777 and the 110 much further down the order in their Porsches. And whilst they can make up some time in the corners, the majority of the time at Paul Ricard, you are heading down straight. There's Pulse Sim Sport already over 3 seconds ahead of the Dutch endurance teams, and they've got to make sure not to. They are teammates to a degree, they are sister teams, so they've got to work together. But the Dutch endurance team are coming under pressure now from double sevens. Double sevens, 8th in the championship, Alex Kingston and Josh Bailey. And they are getting really punchy now. They are on 8 points, fighting with the Dutch endurance team, who are up on 13 points. And this could make a massive difference to the championship standing for double sevens. They've only taken 4 points apiece from each round on average, so they'd really like to get some big points on the board. Start their championship a proper. They obviously feel like they're being held up now by Jacobs. And is Jacobs going to play a sort of a bigger team game and just try and hold off the double sevens, aka Team Asylum, and let Jongen get away to try and attack Seville? But that gap to Seville is growing rapidly. Now it is almost 4 seconds between Seville and Jongen, and Seville needs to pull out that gap because, of course, they take such a bigger penalty for winning. As we jump to the battle for the lead in the GT4 class. That is between Blurred Vision and QRT Esports. QRT up the inside. Although, the page takes it straight back. Easy come, easy go for QRT. Forced the issue there, although kind of clipped the curb. Lost grip, carried too much speed, went far too deep, and luckily there's just a lot of runoff space and no gravel out there. Nathan Berry.
I doubt the extra grippy tarmac they've put down damages your tyres on ACC like it does in real life.
Yeah, it probably doesn't. It's probably just like ordinary tarmac, but painted with stripes, isn't it?
Yep. As I can see, Stephen Bowney, if I could get my words out, Stephen Bain has been hit with a 5-second penalty. One would assume that is for the contact with Jelinek.
No, that's their success penalty. That's their 5 seconds for yes. Finishing third in the last round.
Correct, but I have seen Bellars has been hit with a 15-second penalty.
Yes, you are right there. Because there's 4 penalties sitting in the GT4 class where there should only be 3.
Well, Bellars is in the Porsche. 15th.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yes, you are right. Is it Sherlock?
I think it is Luke Sherlock who's picked up a 15-second penalty. Yes. But also, yeah, you're absolutely right. The Porsche 992 of Bellars, 15 seconds. We of course have live stewarding at the GT Team World Cup. But no extra penalty for Stephen Bain's move on Jelinek, taking out the McLaren. Maybe the stewards are still looking at that one. But here is Anthony Richards, Delta Online Racing in the Chevrolet Camaro GT4, chasing down Mr. Stephen Bain for oNiD Racing. Half a second between them. They are just about the closest cars on track at the moment. And probably in the next 10 minutes, there is the leader coming down the Mistral straight. So I'd say in the next 10 minutes, or less than that, the GT3s will start mixing it with the GT4s. And that is where this race can change dramatically, as the GT3s will have to navigate their way through the GT4s. And whilst the GT4s will get blue flags, it's not quite the same situation as normal lapping because it's multi-class racing. These drivers aren't a lap behind, because of skill. They are in slower machinery, so they won't be moving over in quite the way they would had they been in GT3s and a lap down, as Wood has picked up a 10-second penalty from the stewards in the McLaren, number 9. Don't know what that was for. We've obviously missed that. As Seville goes faster still with a 153.5. Insights brought to you by ACC TV.
Yeah, we're not fancy enough to have insights brought to you by
Amazon.
AWS.
Yeah. But Jacobs has lost that third place for the Dutch endurance team. The double sevens now sit in third place, a podium spot in the Ferrari 296 GT3. But these lot are just driving away from go for the gap. They've left Rooney 4 seconds back in their dust, and there's just nothing Rooney can do with the lack of top end speed. And Rooney has got a bit of a train going. He's got Thorpe and Temenga and Themech actually right behind him. Here we go. Here's Temenga of Reinar's Motorsport, and he's in this little train just following the 992. And this is going to just be a bit of damage limitation. Rooney just trying to hold on to that 5th place and take away as many points as he can. But I think if the Dutch endurance team maintain their current position, they will leapfrog oNiD Go for the Gap Racing into 2nd place in the championship. As Brendan Rooney went very wide indeed, and that is just, and he's lost it. He's lost that 5th place. Thorpe goes past in the McLaren. Now, what will Rooney do? Can he do anything about it? He'll pick up a boost in speed with the slipstream, of course. But once he's ahead, he can't progress from there. The 911 just doesn't have the pace. As he comes out of the final corner, he's got the slipstream, but even still, the McLaren is just pulling away from him. His own Simhound rookies off the track, and they've been punted round.
Yeah, looks like a hit from...
It does.
I'm
trying to check. Was that I think that's FDSR.
The Aston Martin, I think.
Yeah, it was an Aston V8 Vantage. I think that's the FDSR team.
Car number 3.
Oh no, it's a GT4 car. Monster Energy.
That's GT3. No,
oh no, it's just that it's another team. Yeah, they're FDSR in the championship, yep. But Monster Energy here.
I can, Cammy, give you an update from the stewards.
Yeah, oh, please.
So, car 75 has been spun out by car 110. So that got car 110 a 15-second penalty, which is the Porsche we noted earlier. Car 27 accelerated into the back of car 43, who was slowing from avoiding another incident, which got car 27 a 15-second penalty.
That's
which was
Sherlock.
Car 9 made an excessive dive bomb on car 45.
Is that oNiD Racing?
So that's Dave Wood, who's got a 10-second penalty.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And car 18, which is Stephen Bain, makes a dive bomb on car 151, which caused the spin, which has now been got them a 15-second penalty. So their total penalty's up to 20 seconds.
Ouch, rather painful for them. Will they be able to come back from that? It was a needless mistake so early on in the race. As Seville has extended his lead to over 7 seconds now. Jongen comfortably in second, but double sevens are chasing just 1.7 seconds back. Dutch endurance team keeping right on Kingston's tail though. They are nose to tail, and here's Go for the Gap Racing trying to claw back that 5th place from the McLaren.
Yeah, the McLaren hasn't pulled away yet.
It hasn't, but look how hard Rooney is pushing, absolutely using all of the curbs he can just to try and slingshot him out the corner with a little bit more speed, because he knows it's going to end up pretty much topping out before the McLaren does. as they come under the bridge. Thorpe in the middle of the circuit, going defensive, forcing Rooney to the outside now. I don't think Rooney's going to be able to take it round the outside. He might be able to cut back on the inside, but now he runs out wider, and he might end up just exhausting these tyres as running so close in the dirty air to Andy Thorpe. And Temenga just staying in touching distance just in case those two make contact and ruin their races. As we jump back to a replay.
Overtake from the rookies.
oNiD rookies on Wagyu Racing. Down the Mistral Straight. Wagyu don't look like they're defending it. And another Porsche 992 just being eaten whole. That's absolutely nothing. They just feel it's not even worth fighting it. They maybe feel the Porsche just... They've got to accept as Harry Bellars has suffered a bit of oversteer there. Just lost the back end. It's just worked its way around. Quickly gets himself going again, but they're running QRT Esports, running down in 15th place. As we jump back to go for the gap racing, pounding away at that McLaren, trying to get past again. And I think because Brendan's able to drive that car so aggressively behind the McLaren and keep that pressure on, he's not allowing Andy Thorpe to sort of relax and just get on the normal driving racing line. So Thorpe is constantly having to drive defensive, sacrifice his own corner speed to try and defend, and therefore he just isn't driving an optimum line, isn't able to pull away. As the Porsche engine absolutely screaming, and just even in the slipstream making no gains on that McLaren. The best Rooney can hope for in the slipstream is just to hold station and not let the McLaren get further away. As no! That's Temenga! Temenga's snuck through! Of Reinhardt's Motorsport, we did not see that coming. Brendan Rooney, he wasn't excessively out wide, but Temenga just took a much tighter line in the Ferrari 296, and it was just like taking candy away from a baby. It was just a simple overtake.
I thought Rooney was running wide, slightly wider in the early part of the corner to get a tighter line for the second part.
Either way, he's lost out massively. He's gone from 5th to 7th now, and just must absolutely feel powerless in that Porsche. You can see the gap opening up now. Andy Thorpe is pulling away as we jump to Petr Jelinek on a bit of a comeback drive as we see the Dutch endurance team GT3. Oh, he nearly goes up into the back of the Alpine. And now he's got the double sevens behind him. It's all starting to get messy as the GT3s start to navigate their way around the GT4s. We are almost 20 minutes into this 60-minute race here in France at the Paul Ricard circuit. As oNiD Racing looking on track for a good 5th position. Let's see if they can make gains now and catch up with 4th. There's 6 seconds between them. Andy just picking up a little slipstream from the GT4s there. As they come down the Mistral straight, ignoring the chicane. To which Rooney's probably wishing they did use the chicane. It would help the Porsche out a little bit. So Johnny's passed me some information actually, Dan.
Yep.
So it is the automated stewarding log.
That was the same information I was reading.
Oh, okay, that was the same information.
Yes.
It just says Steward 1 is Johnny, Steward 2 is Stevie, and Steward 3 is Scotty.
Yes, if it's an Excel spreadsheet kind of thing, if you look at the bottom, there's tabs.
Yes, there are. Car 18. Description. Setting a poor example. Stephen Bain setting a poor example. But here's Trinket to Tass for oNiD Racing Stronger in the Ginetta, another one of the cars that struggles at Paul Ricard. But Ginetta's running 4th and 6th at the moment in class, having a better day of it than the Porsches. Though no Porsche GT4s, no Porsche Caymans. Is there a reason nobody's gone for the Porsche Cayman, Dan? I thought it was a well-balanced car.
It sounds horrific.
Oh. As Trinket to Tass has got the GT3s trying to get past. That is Andy Thorpe of oNiD Racing. Trinket's going to move over and try and sneak a bit of slipstream from them.
Yeah, you can see the Camaro's just
and
Temenga
and Rooney side by side down the Mistral Straight, but Temenga's going to be able to box Rooney in behind the Ginetta. And Rooney has to slot back. That is Reinhardt Motorsport keeping ahead of Go for the Gap Racing. And oNiD Racing Stronger trying to make gains on that Camaro ahead. But Rooney unable to make an impression. All he can do is drive his best race and hope that his teammate Aidan Carter will be able to find some more speed than he can. Oh, we've had a spinner. Matt Reynolds facing the wrong way. Oh, just lost the back end over the curbs. The real life 720S can ride the curbs. The ACC version cannot. Nobody coming. Plenty of clear road. Rejoin safely. But we jump back to that battle for 6th place. And what is extra painful is Go for the Gap Racing have a 10-second success penalty on their pit stop, whereas Andy Thorpe and Temenga, they don't.
Yeah, I think we've had 2 more penalties as well.
Yeah, Rooney has that one. Yeah. It's catching me out now.
So, car 667 has had a 10-second penalty.
I'm trying to find 667. That must be a GT4 car. There we go. That is Wacker.
Or running, spinning car 69, and then car 3 has spun car 13.
That's and Prescott and Scrub.
Yep. So car 3 has a 10-second penalty. Ah, there we go. They're on track together.
They are. Let's just hope they don't come to blows again. And the Cthulhu car.
Oh, they're going to go either side of that GT4. Oh, wow.
Must be a little bit daunting when you're in a GT4 just being sort of swallowed up by fast GT3 cars coming up you either side.
Yeah.
Seville, only 6 seconds ahead. Is Jongen starting to reel Seville in? Or is Seville taking it easy and looking after those tyres? Spencer Guthrie trying to pile the pressure on area 51. He's forcing it up the inside. He takes that position. A great manoeuvre there. It was forceful, but it was fair. And now he can set off after General Scrub, number 13. But he's just got to clear the 667 Alpine. And the Alpine makes space for him. Nicely done. Tries to pick up the slipstream. 15 of you watching, thank you very much for joining us. I know it's been a tricky transition as we move from Twitch to YouTube. But if you're just joining us, here is your race leader, Jonathan Seville, who is going to be leaving Pulse Sim Sport at the end of the season. But, oh, we've got a replay, Dan.
Issue for Trinket to Tass. Not sure what happened.
Has he been hit up the rear? We've got the Camaro behind that he's defending from. Following the GT3, the monster. Oh no!
I think he's run into the GT3 car there.
I'm not sure they made contact, but he's definitely, I think he's outbraked himself, panicked, trying not to hit the GT3, and then just locked the back wheels and spun round. But we've got a gaggle down at the Mistral Straight as GT3s try to blast past the GT4s, weaving in and out of them. And Bellars and Reynolds are in the pit lane. GT3s will get the first opportunity to swap drivers for just over 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and then the GT4s will have their chance to change drivers.
Royal's trying to go all the way around the outside of that Camaro.
He is. It's slowly working. He's gonna have the inside for the left-hander. Is he gonna be able to make it work? He's certainly trying. I think he's succeeding. He is. Is he gonna be able to hold on to it though? He is. Fantastic maneuver in the Alpine A110 there. And oNiD go for the Gap Racing, their title sponsor, Kdan Computers, in the pits. And that'll be Brendan Rooney handing over to his teammate and Racing Pride ambassador, or community champion, Aidan Carter. We follow the Camaro of Luke Sherlock for V8 Racing. And I've come to love the Camaro after the Le Mans 24 hour. That one did look fantastic. And it's not a car you see much in the UK. I don't know if the Camaro... Dan, do you know if the Camaro is actually sold in the UK like the Ford Mustang is?
I don't believe it is.
Because I don't think I've ever seen a Chevrolet dealer in the UK.
There used to be, but I don't think there is anymore.
Not even I don't think I've even seen a Chevrolet dealer that sells rebadged Deus.
I mean, there must have been at some point, because there's a fair few over here.
Yeah, they're horrible little things. They're not the Chevrolets you get in America. They're just little Asian boxes, aren't they?
Yes, the Daewoo Matiz, or I can't remember what. I think Chevrolet called it the Matiz as well.
They might have done for a while. You might get like the Chevy Volt or something over here, I suppose, something like that. But
well, the Chevy Volt over here was sold as the Vauxhall Ampera.
That's true. Yeah, it's all the same. So
yeah, well, used to be all the same, isn't anymore. Vauxhall aren't owned by General Motors now.
No, they're is it the Peugeot Citroën Group?
Yeah, yes, but it's no longer called the Peugeot Citroën Group.
What's it called now?
It's called the Stellantis Group.
That sounds like a space game that you'd find on Steam. Hey, have you played Stellantis? Oh yeah, is it that MMO space game? Yeah. I mean, there is a game called Stellaris, which is quite similar, but Stellantis, it's a crazy name for...
Oh, they're all coming up with weird and wacky names like that. There's a group of companies that buy and sell vehicles in the UK called Constellation.
Are they all going for space-sounding names then? Oh, jeez.
Very strange.
Delta Live says, there are Chevys in the UK. They were a Manchester United sponsor. Yeah, that is right for a time. I don't think they still do, but there was a time where Chevrolet sponsored, that was on the front of Manchester United football shirts.
Yes, they're now sponsored by TeamViewer, I believe.
That's a strange one, isn't it? Because all of those services, I've never actually paid out money for a service like TeamViewer, Zoom, Skype, Discord. I've never...
Companies do, though.
Companies do, that is very true, but as Pulse SimSport coming into the pits from their lead, they will get their 15-second success penalty applied. That'll be Seville handing over to Dixon. Yellowneck following Sherlock there. Sherlock, they do have 15 seconds on their pit stop. Yellowneck does not, and of course Yellowneck was spun round earlier by oNiD Racing. Naughty. There was a time where top football teams just seemed to all be sponsored by either gambling sites or Chinese companies. They just had Chinese characters across their jerseys.
Yep. Yeah, things change. Times.
they be
change.
a changing. I remember Manchester United having Sharp across their jerseys, and that's an electronics brand nobody goes for
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, they had Sharp on the front, and one of the shirts had Sharp on the back as well.
And I think one of their away shirts said Sharp Handycam.
I think you're right. Yeah, there's a player called Lee Sharp. I mean, he had an E on the end of the Sharp, but he had Sharp on the front, Sharp on the back.
Yeah, that's right. Delta Live TV. They have dealers in Southend and Aylesford. Well, that's okay if you live in Southend or Aylesford. I'm guessing you're in the southeast then, Delta Live TV. That sounds like you're in Essex and Kent. Or one of them, rather than and. As you watch double sevens going past Wagyu Racing. Wagyu going very wide out on track there. Do they still have to pit? There's 5 minutes left.
No,
So Guthrie is in the pits. Just coming out, I think. And Temenga is just about to come out of the pits. Then that's all the GT3's done. And we've got Luke Sherlock first of the GT3s to come in. Aiden says, race ruined. Oh, there's been a balls up with the sim. ACC thought that Aiden Carter was teammates with Trinket de Tass and now has put me in as a new entry. Game over. How was ACC? Dan, do you have any insight into that?
Yeah, it does that if you don't join in the correct order. So whoever is the team manager in inverted commas, or the lead driver on SimRacing.GP has to join the server first. Otherwise it will cause issues like that.
But Aiden has joined first, and it's maybe... So does that mean Trinket de Tass has lost a teammate?
No, it will put you in a random car when it goes wrong.
Oh. As Rob Smenska comes out the pits for Reinhardt Motorsports, that is Go for the Gap Racing effectively retiring from the Paul Ricard race. But yeah, Aiden, they are just beyond where they don't have a clue how that's happened. As Temenga, well, Reinhardt Motorsport have picked up a stop and go 30-second penalty, Dan.
That
is excessive speeding in the pit lane.
It must be.
That is a humongous penalty and will absolutely spoil any chances of big points. Aiden is saying they joined in the correct order. No changes from last week.
Well, that's usually what explains the issues.
Just ACC being ACC, unfortunately. So no points, nil points for Go for the Gap Racing this evening, and that pains me to say it. Nothing wrong, just glitched maybe. So what happened, Aiden? So what happened to the Go for the Gap Racing car? Did it just stay with Brendan Rooney, or did it give the car to somebody else, or was Brendan just unable to hand over to you?
Nick Fuji has been given a drive-through penalty for contact with a GT4.
Oh dear. Yeah, they're running in 7th at the moment in the Audi RA. Obviously all the cars out there who are running 5th or lower have obviously made a place with the retirement of Go for the Gap Racing, but Stephen Bain needs to pit. They've got 20 seconds on their pit stop, and Reinard's coming in for their stop and go 30. Pulse leading the way, but look at that gap, Dan. That was... I mean, I know they have their success penalty, but I think Van Oom could have the pace here to take this from Miles Dixon, because whilst we know Seville is a bit of an alien, Miles Dixon, does he have the pace around Paul Ricard to hold on to that lead? It's 1.2 seconds at the moment, and I know it'd be it'd be exciting to see a battle for the lead, because Pulse Simsport have had it a little bit easier, and that gap is coming down. Dan, it's coming down.
It is. I'm just going to get you some additional information.
Aiden saying it entered them as car 912 rather than... Well, Rooney's 911, but it said entered me as 912 so I could drive, and Rooney was still sat in the pits. Couldn't change over, got given a new car. So does that mean it gave you a new Porsche 911, or it gave you something completely different? Oh, and then the controls were locked for 2 minutes. Oh, so it effectively would have made Aiden 17 laps down, because it would have treated them as a new entry. That's ridiculous. That's crazy, as Fuji picks up another penalty. Just a 5-second one, but that is another.
So that's... I think the drive-through may have been for track limits then, and the 5-second penalty for the contact with the GT4.
That sounds like it makes more sense. And Simon Harris says, ugh, cannot get on with this track. And yeah, I think this is one of those tracks that is a love it or hate it Marmite kind of track, as Pulse frantically on the blinkers trying to get the GT4s to move over because they are feeling the pressure. Dutch Endurance Team could be on for the win as Danny Van zooms past 667 and is in hot pursuit.
On the last lap, Dutch Endurance Team were 57 hundredths faster.
Oh, this could shake the championship up just a little bit. So that is the Dutch Endurance Team White, who are going to leapfrog Go for the Gap Racing, because Go for the Gap Racing are going to take no points from this evening. And Dutch Endurance Team are on for at least second place, but if they could take the win, they can start threatening Pulse SimSport for the championship.
I do have a question, Cammy. You may know this. Is there a drop round? There usually is. So seeing as, especially for Go for the Gap Racing, this wasn't going to be a strong result, does it matter that much that they're going to get nil points?
No. All races to count.
Oh, so that is a big issue there.
Painful. Yeah, there is no drop rounds. And I'll just take you through the points on offer. It is 25 points for a win, 18 for second place, 15 for third, 12 for fourth, 10 for fifth, 8 points for sixth, 6 points for seventh, 4 points for eighth, 2 points for ninth, 1 point for 10th, and if you finish 11th or lower, it is nil points. As Danny Van trying to clear the GT4s frantically, now within a second of Miles Dixon. For the first time in a long time, Pulse SimSport are feeling pressured. Dutch Endurance Team have risen to the challenge.
I can give you lap times for the last lap, Cammy.
Yeah, please.
So on the last lap, Miles Dixon did a 155.860, and Danny Van did a 155.480.
Danny Van look at that. You can visibly see that gap is not 0.8 of a second anymore. They are nose to tail. That Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2 is sniffing to find a way past the Ferrari 296 GT3 in those luminous fuchsia and yellow colours. I was trying to think of names for the colours, but just pink and yellow. It's kind of like a... yeah, the luminous yellow that you'd wear for a high-vis jacket, and bright pink as if you were going to a rather cheeky nightclub. And then there's the tail. Van Oom's having a look up the inside, really piling the pressure. He just got a lot more grip. He just seems to have a lot more speed, and he must be absolutely enjoying this, because for the first time in a long time, Pulse SimSport are, I won't say they're on the back foot, but they are feeling the pressure. They are not as in control of this race as they have been for the last dozen races that I've commentated on. And Miles Dixon's just frantically trying to get the GT4s out the way.
Yeah, and this really shows how the success penalty at the pit stops can bring the racing close together. So if you think about it, Dixon would be 15 seconds up the road compared to where they
Yes.
are now.
That is very right, because Seville is so fast. He's able to negate the success penalty, but without that, yeah, Miles Dixon would be able to. He's quick, but he wouldn't have that immediate pressure. He'd be able to cruise slightly, look after his tires a little bit more. He'd be able to just let that gap manage. You know, he can manage it and watch it reduce. But as long as he kept up a certain pace, he'd be fine. But with that success penalty, he has got to work extra hard, because he's got Danny Van Oom, who's absolutely in inspired form tonight. And Jerome Jongen, you know, drove a blinder in the first half. Absolutely set Danny Van Oom up for success. And whilst I wish it was Go for the Gap Racing who is going to dethrone Pulse Simsport for once, it looks like it's going to be the Dutch. As they go past Royal Esports, down the Mistral Straight. And Miles Dixon's just trying to put a GT4 car between himself and the orange Lambo. If he can just get one car between them in the corners, he can try to build up a little cushion, but all the while they're nose to tail, Van Oom is able to stay in that slipstream. So Van Oom's got to make sure that Ginetta stays, and it does. That Ginetta is keeping well out of that battle. As we come up, 19 minutes to go here. Virtual time just before 10 to midnight, 22 degrees, optimum race conditions, and not even the weather is going to be able to save Dixon. It is just 18 and a half minutes of pure racing, nose to tail. May the best driver win. As Alan Racing, he's saying, go Miles, pull away. And Miles is probably thinking, what a novel idea. Why didn't I think of that? Key to winning is going faster, isn't it, Dan?
Yep. If you are faster, then you will be first, and if you are first, you will win the race. And to win the race, you must be first.
That sounds like something Will Buxton could have said.
I was reading the other day, some of the quotes he's attributed aren't things he's actually said. They just sound like things he may have said.
I mean, Barry Walker said some things that were a bit like that as well. You know, the car in front is unique, except for the one in front, which is absolutely identical.
Yeah, like there's nothing wrong with that car at all, except it's on fire.
Exactly. Oh, this looks like it could be it. Is Miles Dixon going to go defensive? He does. He moves over to the right. Van Oom is forced to the outside again. They're halfway down the Mistral Straight, coming up to the long right-hander. And Van Oom hold it round the outside. No, he can't. He cuts back. Is he going to try and cut back on the inside for the double right? Miles Dixon still holding the inside line, but how long can he do that before he sees an orange Lambo come back up the inside on a corner exit? As they come up to Virage de Bendor and the Courbe de Galabin. The last sort of left-right complex before the end of the lap. It is still Miles Dixon holding on for Pulse Simsport in front of Danny Van Oom for the Dutch Endurance team. I'd be quite interested to hear from Aidan and Brendan who they're cheering for at the moment, given that they're out of it. As we ride on board with that GT3 Lambo. And of course, Lamborghini was created to spite Ferrari, wasn't it, Dan?
It was, because Ferruccio loved Ferraris. They were his favourite cars to drive.
He owned one, yeah.
He owned more than one. He owned multiple Ferraris. He just didn't like the clutch, so he went to Enzo and said, "Look, your cars are great. I love your cars, but the clutch is a problem. Why don't we work together? I'll supply you some good clutches, and you'll have the world's best cars."
Because at the time, Lamborghini, they made tractors, didn't they?
They did, and Enzo Ferrari said, "You stick to making tractors. That's what you do best." Which
Sort of, snubbed him.
absolutely incensed Ferruccio, who vowed to beat Ferrari at their own game as Dutch Endurance team look to the outside again.
They're running around the outside though. Miles is giving them space. They come together. Oh, that was a blow, wasn't it? Miles Dixon still in the race. Will Van Oom let Miles go back past? Because that was a brutal bit of contact. Let's watch. Oh yeah, just as Van Oom was trying to just edge back onto the tarmac, and Miles could have given him a bit more space to return.
Yeah.
But Van Oom has done the gentlemanly thing and let Miles go back through. I think he knows, with quarter of an hour left to go, he knows there'll be a second opportunity to get that pass done in a clean fashion, and what he doesn't want is to take the lead in those circumstances, only to have the stewards take it away from them.
Yeah, and I think with the track limits you get round that corner, I don't think the Dutch Endurance driver needed to try and get back on track so vigorously.
No, he could have held it out there, but I can understand why you'd want four wheels on the tarmac, just
Yes.
for optimum grip and speed. But I think he might have assumed Dixon was going to give him a little bit of space, like he'd earned that position on track because they were side by side. The virtual drivers could have looked left and right and looked at each other as they come round. Virage du Camp at the top of the Paul Ricard circuit. I'm sure there is other action going on around the track, but this is what we're watching. The lead for the GT3 class, because it is so rare we see a team bring the challenge to Pulse Sim Sport. As we jump to the nose cam of Danny Van Oom, we watch. This is what a slipstream should look like, Porsche. You gain on the car in front, gaining. Miles Dixon holding to the right again. He can do nothing but hold on to the right-hand side of that circuit, hold the inside line. Van Oom is going to come around the outside again. Is he going to try it? He is. But he has to tuck in behind Miles. He's not quite able to keep it alongside. As we jump to the passenger seat. Up towards Bendor. There is barely a tenth of a second between these two at the last sector. Rue de la Tour, Van Oom goes deep. A little bit of a compromised entry into DuPont, but they are still very close to each other. They are over 16 seconds ahead of Reinhardt Motorsport, who are running in third and having their best race of the season. And then it is oNiD Racing in fourth place. Sorry, my mistake. So oNiD Racing, how far back are they? It is oNiD Racing who are 16 seconds back from Reinhardt. Oh, that's also 16, okay. And then you've got Grasmida in fifth and Lindblom in sixth. And yeah, the Porsches, Hall and Shuttler, down in 11th and 12th. The Porsche's just absolutely outclassed this evening by faster machinery, unfortunately. As we come back onto the Mistral Straight, there is a GT4 car just ahead. We should probably check with our GT4 leaders in a moment, but you know as soon as we do that, we'll miss Danny Van Oom's overtake. We'll hold on until the end of the Mistral Straight, because this has been where he's making the moves. So Miles Dixon's going to have a bit of a slipstream from the GT. Is that a Porsche they're coming up? Is that Shuttler? Is that Wagyu Racing? That is Wagyu Racing. They are lapping GT3 traffic. That is Shuttler for Wagyu Racing in 12th place. Moves well clear. Does not want to be responsible for it going wrong between the leading pair. But now we're off the Mistral Straight. Dan's jumped us to QRT Esports with Van der Steeg leading the way in the AMG. Number 352 in second place is Blurred Vision. They're having a consistent race. They were in the wars a little bit earlier on, but running in second place. And then it is Royale Sim Sports, or Alpine Esports as they're being this evening. They've handed over to Las Estrellas, running in third in class. And there is Johnny Ashley, who's taken over from Stephen Bain in the Ginetta G55?
G56.
As soon as I said it, I was like, yep, it's going to be one of those.
Emperor Ashley.
Emperor Ashley running in 20th place at the moment, aka 5th in class. And Redhead tangling with Wagyu Racing, and they've been lapped by the leading pair of Dixon and Van Oom. And Tango trying to go up the inside, but Wagyu closing the door. As they come onto the Mistral Straight, we should probably jump to the leaders actually. They're just up the road, and we could see another fight for the lead. And Miles is probably going to start moving over to the right as that bright orange Lambo edges closer and closer. But I don't think he's going to get close enough on this lap. No, he doesn't. But does that mean we're going to see an attempt for the lead elsewhere on the track? He's running a little bit wide. Is Van Oom's tyres, is he just starting to lose the grip he had? He was looking so potent to get past Miles, but now it looks like Miles is just starting to be able to hold him at arm's length. Just sort of the way you'd hold out an arm to stop a midget punching you. That was the best way I could have described that situation. As they come into Virage du Pont, the sharp right-hander to start the 27th lap. 26 laps just about to be completed. Just under 9 minutes to go here at the Paul Ricard circuit in France. Yeah, Miles able to build up that gap, 0.8 of a second now, and Van Oom really needs to focus. If those tyres are starting to go away from him, he's just got to hope that Dixon's are as well. As this is 777 alongside the Monster Energy team. This is Stevens and Bailey. Oh, Bailey chops right across Stevens' nose there, didn't he?
I think the gap was much bigger than it looked like. I think the camera angle foreshortened the gap there.
It made it look very dynamic and exciting.
It looked very much like a DRS pass there, with the ease that Bailey went past the Aston Martin.
And yeah, Dixon's now doubled that gap. It's 1.5 now. Has Van Oom lost the drive? And there's QRT just making their way through some GT4 traffic with Ian Hall just running behind Fuji, who does have a 5-second penalty. He's gone quite wide. There at Bendor. Although the R8, same engine in the Lamborghini, so can probably just rely on top end speed to hold back. But Fuji not taking the racing line through the corners. I don't know if he's just trying to be a little bit defensive, but that does enable Ian Hall to close up. Fuji, yeah, definitely trying to stay slightly defensive. As the gap between Dixon and Van Oom has come down slightly, it is back down to 1.3 seconds. I'd love to see the Dutch endurance team bring this fight to Pulse Sim Sport, as Pulse is trying to get through GT4s, and this is Pulse, it's the Pulse Sim Sport amateur team, and they've had a coming together with oNiD Racing, and Andrew's having to do a 3-point turn. So there was GT4 traffic there, but as we're going to jump back, yeah, so here's the Pulse Sim Sport amateurs. They're behind oNiD Racing, who are trying to get past GT4 traffic. And he tries to go around the outside of oNiD. Yeah, I mean, that was a gap that was always going to close. And he's just sent oNiD Racing round. He nearly clips more traffic. Overall, Dan, just maybe a clumsy attempt at an overtake.
I mean, to be fair, once the first GT3 car had made the overtake, that maybe that GT4 car could have run a bit wider. But yeah, you probably shouldn't be trying to.
It looked like he was trying to make it
different cars. Yeah,
it looked like he was trying to make it 3 wide, and I don't think the GT4 expected a 3 wide situation. I think they just expected 2 GT3 cars to go past one by one. Miles Dixon holding that gap to 1.2 seconds. There's Lindblom of oNiD Simhound Rookies.
Yeah, so they're up into 4th position now.
They are. They're ahead of the oNiD Racing team proper because of that incident. So oNiD Simhound rookies having a great race here, and no doubt using their Simhound gloves.
Yeah, the gap at the front is now closer to 5 seconds, which should update the next time they go through split.
The gap at the front,
Yes,
Dixon and Van Oom,
yes, that's what it's
5
telling me.
seconds.
What it's telling me on my system.
What has happened to Van Oom to drop back?
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. He's dropped back 4 seconds, just under 4 seconds. So he's obviously had a terrible lap. The tyres have obviously gone off, and Miles Dixon looks like he's done enough to hold off this charge. That's Wagyu racing off the track,
yes,
and Tango just go past.
Yeah, so that was the overtake that we'd missed, and I'm back for a replay.
What a fantastic overtake it was.
Yeah, I thought it'd be more exciting than that.
Yeah, Miles Dixon, maybe he's done enough. He's got 4 minutes to go, 4:20 to be precise. Looks like he's done enough, but Josh Bailey's off the track. Rejoining. What's happened to 777? Have they just gone off and gone on the marbles and the dirty bit of the track, lost the back end, and trying to rejoin? Yeah, Monster Energy go past.
Had an issue as well.
Oh, QRT. Trying to get past, I think this is Page in the R8? No, was it Grasmeter?
No, Grasmeter was in 5th.
So this is Sim Racing Brotherhood. So this is Nick Fuji.
Yeah.
Sweeps to the outside. At the core, but the thing is, just Nick Fuji straight over defending thin air there. But Fuji's got a 5-second penalty, so it needn't matter how much they fight. Ian can just stay behind. He's got that position, but he wants to take it to Bailey, who's... Well, I don't think he's going to make it to Bailey, but he can hold station behind Fuji. I know it's more exciting to do it on track, but he can just hold where he is, and he'll know he'll be classified as 10th and pick up a point.
So it looks like Simhound rookies were going to be able to hold on to 4th position. On the last lap, Grasmeter was 7/10 slower, and Andrew Hearn was another 1.8 seconds slower than that. I think Andrew Hearn must be nursing some damage.
I think, yeah, you're absolutely right after that collision. And I wonder if the stewards will be looking at that after the race. They've not handed out any penalties in the present. So number 54 has picked up a 5-second penalty.
Penalty twice, so they'll get another 5 seconds on top of that. So 10-second penalty for car 54 for that incident we saw.
That we were just speaking about. So
yes.
Hearn is running with damage, but has to keep within 10 seconds as Fuji losing out to Hall. Hall goes very wide. Fuji is still on the inside and still hold on to this.
What a drift.
Wow, what a drift. And held on to it as well, because if Hall had lost that and spun, that would have handed 10th place to Fuji.
Hall, delivery driver.
Hall needs to remember that Fuji has a 5-second penalty and just needs to drive behind him.
Currently, Andrew Hearn is 12.2 seconds behind Grasmeter.
It feels a little bit unfair, doesn't it?
Yeah, the gap is only getting bigger.
It feels unfair that they've only had a 10-second penalty, but with the damage, it almost feels like the penalty's worth it as long as you can do enough damage that the car behind, they can't recover from it and they can't keep within 10
Bailey
seconds.
got through there. We'll go back for a replay of that.
Yeah, getting past the Monster Energy. Quite a big gap as they come up to the first corner and really closes it up. They've got the Alpine just in front of them.
Yeah, sometimes they...
and I think the Monster Energy just went a bit deep there. Yeah, got it all wrong.
Yeah, got stuck behind the GT4 car.
The 777 just takes advantage. I'm not sure they did actually, because there's still quite a gap to the Alpine. But we are jumping to race leader, who is on the last lap. 30 laps completed. Held off a charging Danny Van Oom for the Dutch Endurance team. There he is. 5 seconds back from Pulse Sim Sport, and that is the closest we've had to Pulse Sim Sport not winning, isn't it, Dan? And Danny's, was that a celebratory or was that an unhappy? And then there's flashing the hazards. He's either saying sorry to the oNiD Racing GT4. I'm not sure what's going on there. It's hard to work out communication through hazard lights. He's only got less than half the lap to go now as he comes through the Corps de Signes up to the double right debut set. He hasn't got a charging orange Lambo behind him anymore. Vanum is 4.8 seconds back. Dixon can take it easy, safe in the knowledge that he's done enough. He comes round the Corbet du Galabin up towards Virage de la Tour for the final time into Virage du Pont, and then he will see the checkered flag, the number 97 of Seville and Dixon, take 3 wins out of 3 races in the oNiD Racing GT Team World Cup. 3 gold medals from 3 races, and 3 pole positions as well to boot. As we watch QRT Esports in the AMG Mercedes GT4, they've got half a lap to go, leading the way by almost 10 seconds in the GT4 class. As Vanum takes second for the Dutch Endurance team, and that was the oNiD Racing Stronger. Was that oNiD Racing Stronger in 3rd place, Dan?
No.
I can't see who finished 3rd and 4th.
So 3rd was Car 87, and then, yes, the rookies took 4th. Grasmida, I think, will hold on to 5th after the penalty. The gap was 13 seconds.
Yeah, no doubt oNiD Racing's, Hearn will feel a bit hard done by that the penalty didn't essentially cover the damage that he suffered, and he wasn't able to mount any form of comeback with the damage on the car. But here comes Van der Steeg for QRT Esports, coming up to the final corner. A few fewer laps completed than the GT3 class, but it doesn't matter. Checkered flag is out, and QRT Esports take the victory in the GT4 class. And Page coming across for 2nd place for Blurred Vision. They take 2nd.
Stephen Field.
That is Stephen Field, sorry. I think the co-driver. And Strej 3rd place in the Alpine. Hood, Johnny Ashley and Stevie Bain have mounted a challenge had it not been for their 15-second penalty. I wonder.
Yeah, possibly. Looking at the race time.
And somebody talking about stop and go penalty for no reason in the game chat. It's probably not the place to discuss it.
Yeah, I think so. Johnny Ashley finished roughly 15 seconds behind Marco L in 4th position in class.
Yeah, so had they not had that penalty, they could have taken the battle to the podium places, but...
Oh, sorry, it was a lap and 5th, so they were over a lap behind. My apologies. So they finished, so it might have been 15 seconds, but it will show that they were a lap behind because maybe the leaders were between the 2 cars at the time.
Yeah. So that rounds out the hour of racing of the oNiD Racing GT Team World Cup at Paul Ricard. Next week, we will be at Bathurst in Australia, the Mount Panorama Mountain Circuit on the 4th of July. And then on the 11th of July, we are racing at Donington Park before the season finale on the 18th of July in South Africa at Kyalami. Are Pulse SimSport going to be able to... They've won the first half of the championship. Are they going to be able to repeat it? Can the Dutch Endurance team, with Jerome Jongen and Danny Van Oom take the challenge and take a win away from Pole Simsport, can go for the gap, get that problem sorted that saw Aidan Carter allocated a random new car. We don't know what happened there, but it may have spoiled their championship because there are no drop rounds. Every round counts towards the points tally. So I've been Cammy Sturch. On the cameras, highlights and replays has been Mr. Dan Hyde of KDAN Broadcasting, and it is time for us to say goodnight, Dan.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week.